Good morning. Happy Sunday. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. What? That's cool. So I've been talking about posting another video for a couple of weeks now, and I apologize on the delay. I've been a little bit busy. I went on a podcast as a guest yesterday, and I kind of wanted to talk about that experience on this YouTube video. I want to talk about that, obviously, my experience as being an interviewee versus the interviewer, because I myself have a podcast as well. But I also want to talk about the carnivore diet, which is something that we discussed on the podcast, and competing. So in my last video, I discussed introducing some carbs. If you guys don't know, I'm currently on the carnivore diet. I started the carnivore diet, a loose version of it, September of last year, September 22nd. I know because it was just after my birthday. And it's been an amazing experience thus far. I'm obsessed. Last year when I started in September, I was loose carnivore, so I was eating beef, eggs, cheese, bacon, which if you don't know, bacon is still cured with sugar, so there's still a trace amount of sugar in bacon, which is carbs. So January 1 rolled around and I did World Carnivore Month, and during that month I found insane mental clarity, which is huge. I'm a pretty busy single mom, full-time employee, personal trainer, and I do a podcast. So thinking about or even considering a diet or experiencing a diet that gives me mental clarity is pretty much worth it all. I'm not a big drinker. I don't take any prescription medications, so the mental clarity piece is huge. So World Carnivore Month rolled around and I said, okay, I'll do it, which means I did strict beef, water, salt, eggs, black coffee. During World Carnivore Month, I was still consuming artificial sweeteners. If you don't know what those are, aspartame, sucralose, stevia is natural, but it's still a sweetener. So I was consuming that in pretty large amounts. I would put stevia in my coffee. I would drink energy drinks that have artificial sweeteners. And I was chewing a lot of sugar-free gum, which, like, the action of chewing and something sweet triggered something in my mind. I thought about doing a little bit of scientific research for this YouTube video, but I wanted to make it from my perspective and not have any outside bias. I looked up like foods that are on the glycemic index, and a couple of other things, but I was like, I just kind of want to talk about my direct experience and not incorporate any science. I wanted to use like layman's terms. I wanted to make it as simple as possible. So in February, again, I was still doing the really strict version of the carnivore diet. Meat, salt, water, eggs, black coffee, with the addition of artificial sweeteners and like energy drinks, which also have artificial sweeteners. So I was feeling like I didn't have enough energy for my workouts because I still and do lift pretty heavy. And so I started looking up alternatives, and I came across the vertical diet, which is Stan Efferding's diet, who is a bodybuilder and powerlifter, an all-around strong man for sure. And so I said, okay, I'll consider it. And I started prepping. If you don't know what the vertical diet is, it's ground beef, bone broth. They incorporate carrots, rice, sweet potatoes, and spinach, as well as eggs, yogurt, like Greek yogurt, full-fat Greek yogurt, and maybe a couple of other things. That's kind of like the brief overview. For me, once I started introducing carrots, rice, sweet potatoes, my body composition changed. So during that World Carnivore Month, I lost 10 pounds, but my body composition changed drastically. You could see that the inflammation had gone down, which means my face was less puffy, my muscles were more prominent. Even little things like my wrists were smaller. Every day when I woke up, my fingers were skinny, my toes were skinny. And I don't know if you guys notice little things like that, but I always notice those things. When I wake up, I'm like, did I have too much salt? Did I not have too much salt? So when I started introducing carbs, I noticed that the inflammation rose. So my face started getting more puffy. I started filling out like body-wise. I had much more bloat like in my stomach. And the biggest problem that I had, which I understand that carrots are pretty high on I understand now because my trainer told me that the carrots are pretty high on the glycemic index, which means they have a lot of sugar. And once you consume sugar, it's kind of like a trigger. And that's exactly what happened once I started consuming this diet. I would eat carrots and then I would immediately think about brownies, cakes, cookies, anything that I could have that had sugar. And again, this is my testimonial. This is the experience that I had. I'm not saying that it doesn't work for anybody else. And that's exactly what I said on the podcast yesterday. When we discussed the carnivore diet and then the introduction of carbs and taking into consideration that I'm a personal trainer, I would never, and I wanted to make this statement too, I would never advise someone to do the carnivore diet, but for someone like me who struggled with bulimia in high school, has always struggled with their weight, and as a binge eater, like bulimia, if you don't know what it is, it's like binging. You eat a lot of food and then you make yourself throw it up. That is something that I put myself through. I don't want to say suffered from it. I put myself through it just because I really wanted to be skinny, and that was my motivator. And I don't ever want to be in that place again. And introducing carbs after having such a clean diet made me feel that way. It made me want to eat bad. It made me want to, have cookies and cakes and sugar, and it's almost like a switch was flipped. It was like, oh, okay, now we're consuming sugar. Immediately go to, chocolate cake from Zoe's. And I don't want that to happen. So I decided that I was not going to do it, not going to continue. And this time I spoke with someone on Instagram. Her tag or her handle is CMS Fit. And she discussed having binge eating disorder too. So I was like, cool, someone who can relate with me. She lifts weights as well. So she trains really hard. And she was like, remove the artificial sweeteners. And I'm like, okay. So last Thursday, I started the carnivore diet again. And for the first few days, I was doing, really fatty meats, like ribeyes and chuck roast and ground beef. And just what I felt like was rebalancing my hormones, which feels so good. Again, immediately came back the mental clarity, immediately went away the inflammation, the bloat, the sugar cravings, and I eliminated all artificial sweeteners. So now I drink my coffee black. Sometimes I'll put some collagen peptides in it, which increase the amino acid profile of your diet. And I'll put that on my ribeye too, or my steaks that I cook. But as someone who's done Weight Watchers, I've done Atkins, I've done keto, I've done just every single diet that's out there. And I listen to a lot of fitness podcasts too, and they say, which is something that I say too, the diet that's going to work for you is the diet that you can adhere to. And for me, this has eliminated choices, stress around food, cravings. Guys, sugar cravings for me, detrimental. I don't have any self-control. I don't know why. And I have been diagnosed with metabolic syndrome, which is essentially pre-diabetes. And maybe it's from all those years when I had bulimia. Maybe it's from, the inability to stop myself at one cookie. I don't know what it is. All I know is that this diet eliminates those cravings for me and helps keep me on the path. And once I eliminated the artificial sweeteners, aka gum, Bang energy drinks, stevia is natural, but again, it's a sweetener. I found that I didn't even want it. I didn't even want it. And that for me, excuse me, I have the hiccups. That for me is like worth missing out on any birthday cake, any cupcakes, the fear of getting fat again. Like, that's the biggest thing for me. And a couple of other things that I've noticed is like, I don't have body odor. And like, as you guys know, I work out all the time, and like, I don't have body odor. Like, one day I forgot to wear deodorant, and I honestly didn't even really sweat that much. So that was a cool thing. The inflammation has gone down, the bloating has gone down, and that brings me to another point, which will probably be in the title of this video. Bodybuilding and competing. I don't know that I'm ready to do that yet. And the reason why I say that is because from the competitors that I know and the people that I know that have competed in this sport, my trainer being one of them, he's competed in a lot. I could guess and say maybe 8 to 10 competitions. And I told him, I said, I don't ever want to hate my body. I don't ever want to look at myself in the mirror and be just hating it, hating the results, hating that I'm not, at a certain level yet. I don't ever want to hate my body. And he said, then I absolutely advise that you don't do it. I really, as women, as people, we struggle with our self-image and body dysmorphia. For me, when I look in the mirror, I still see 240 pounds. And I don't want to do that anymore. I want to look in the mirror and be happy with what I see. I want to look in the mirror and say, man, like, you look good. And I want to believe it. And competing, I don't think is something that's really healthy for me. I definitely want to take my body to places that it's never been before, but I don't think competing is how I'm going to get there. And if you've made it this far, thank you for watching. I just wanted to talk about my experiences with the carnivore diet. And if you're interested, by all means, I will send you all the links and all the podcasts. I've probably listened to, I don't even know how many hours, probably 20 hours of podcasts of experts like Sean Baker and Paul Saladino, and, even debates with other people like Lane Norton. And I feel like this diet is a game changer for me. I don't advise it for anyone else. Unless you're really interested and you want to discuss it, feel free to reach out to me. I will definitely talk to you about it, but I'm for sure an advocate. And happy Sunday. Thank you. Bye.